All right, everyone, we'll get started here in just a minute. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Right now, everyone on the line is muted due to the large number of attendees. However, if you'd like to participate in the live Q&A session, feel free to hop onto our Facebook page, and you can ask questions live during the webinar, which Noah will answer. You can also use the question feature on the right-hand side of the GoToWebinar screen to ask questions throughout the conversation during the next hour, and we'll weave those questions into the conversation as well. Again, we'll get started in just a moment. All right, before we get started, can someone do me a favor just to make sure the sound is working properly? Can someone send me a chat message through GoToWebinar? All right, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, during the seminar today or the conversation today, please feel free to send any questions you like over the Facebook page, facebook.com/PhillyLivingRealEstate, or use the chat feature in GoToWebinar to ask any questions. Before we get started, I'm going to put a quick poll out there to make sure that we understand exactly who we're chatting with today. So the first one is going to ask you a quick question about your experience level with builders. This will give us a sense if we're talking to folks who are just getting started or are more experienced. So if you take a minute and answer that question, it'd be helpful. Awesome, a lot of answers are coming in. Looks like a lot of folks are getting their start. That's great. Thank you for your participation. I'm going to also throw a couple experts on the line. Fantastic. We'll let this go for another couple seconds. All right, looks like we have a good segmentation in the audience today. Today we're going to be touching upon not only kind of some of the basic 101 level working with builders, but also some more advanced topics. And then in the future we'll kind of split things off to some different tracks so we can have more informed conversations at the level you want to be talking. Also going to ask a quick second follow-up question. Just to understand where you folks are mostly working. While we certainly do some rural work, a lot of what we do is urban. So if you can also take a second so we can understand where you work, will help to tailor our conversation today. Great, thank you so much. Looks like we have a lot of folks in urban, but a good segment in rural as well, so we'll make sure to touch on both of those topics throughout the conversation. Again, just to reiterate, if you have any live questions, of course you can use the chat feature within GoToWebinar anytime. We'll be monitoring that throughout the conversation, or head to our Facebook page, and you can certainly ask the questions there. We're monitoring that on a second screen. Just by way of quick introduction, my name is Jake Dreyfuss. I'll be moderating the conversation this afternoon. I have the pleasure of running operations for the team, the Philly Living team, but also our new team in New Jersey as well. Today our goal is, of course, to follow up on all the great conversations we had at Mega Camp. We are what now, 2 months in now into working here at Keller Williams. We made the switch.
6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks. Switched to Keller Williams on August 1st. So the majority of the reason we made this move is to share openly and network with folks like yourselves in the business. So we thought we'd take the first step and put ourselves out there, share what we're doing, and we look forward to learning a lot from you all as well. So today I'm going to ask Noah to share a little about the story so you can understand who he is and why he started this business, and why he selected to build our business around new construction, how we use that to separate ourselves from the pack. Most importantly, we'll walk through how to identify these opportunities, analyze deals, and impress builders to the point where they are begging to work with you. And of course, throughout the conversation, we'll be doing live Q&A, but of course, we'll have a session at the end where we go through all the questions. So without further ado, Noah, why don't you give us an introduction to you and business?
All right, thanks, Jake. All right, so today I want to start off a little bit by giving you a little glimpse into my past, talk to you a little bit about my experience and kind of why we do what we do, and then we'll get into the good stuff. So I would say back in 2003, I worked for a large builder named Toll Brothers. I was a project manager for them, and then subsequently, right after that, I was a project manager for Centex Homes, both large national builders. I built about 200 homes with them, really understood the business, learned the business. And I was down in Florida at the time. And at the time, I was moving back to Philadelphia, and I had decided to sell my home. And I met with a real estate agent who told me my house was worth a lot more than it actually was. Now, this was back in 2005, so the market was really good back then. People were pretty much could ask whatever they wanted, and they got it. So she told me a really high price. I was excited. That's the reason I listed my property with that particular agent, because she told me that I could get higher than anybody else. Well, a year went by. The home was still on the market, and we all know what happened within that year, and pretty much the market fell out from under us in Florida and everywhere else around the country. So needless to say, was 8 years later, I still own that property, unfortunately, but it really taught me a good lesson. It taught me that when I got into real estate, I knew that I wanted to be different than that. I did not want to tell people what they wanted to hear. I wanted to tell them the truth, and I wanted to give them my honest opinion, whether they liked it or not, in terms of how much their property was worth. And we've kind of built our motto in business around that. So when I got into the business, into the sales side of the business in 2008, I looked for companies that I wanted to join up with. I reached out to the #1 team here in Philadelphia at the time, saying that I wanted to be on their team. They weren't hiring people then. So I decided to make it my mission to build the business on my own, and I wanted to build it bigger and better than anyone else has ever done. And I wanted to do things differently. I didn't want to go about the old real estate methods like everybody did. I wanted to try to do things differently and be a little bit more cutting edge than everybody else. So I decided to get a little bit more into the new construction stuff, because that was my background. And those of you who heard me speak at Mega Camp a couple of weeks ago, I talked a little bit about how I first got started at working with builders. So I'll just quickly give that story, because some people were not at Mega Camp and they didn't hear that story. But back in 2010, I listed a property in a not so great neighborhood in Philadelphia, and it was a shell. It was like $30,000 or $40,000. First day I put it on the market, I got about 20 phone calls from different builders and developers around the city, telling me they wanted to buy the property. So right from the beginning, pretty much 2 days into it, I had sold that property, and I had all these developers that were calling me, telling me that they wish they could have bought it. They wish they had some other stuff that they could buy. So through the conversations, I understood what it was that they were looking for, and I eventually talked to them how much it cost them to build, and so on and so forth. So I spent the next few weeks after that really focusing on finding the types of properties that they wanted me to find for them, making phone calls, and really building my business up that way. And that year, I sold probably about 50 properties just from making those phone calls through lots and shells. And the following year, probably at least 50 listings on the back end. So just a little bit of just history about how it was that we got started in that, and we've built it much bigger than that since then, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I know a lot of questions came to me shortly after the last presentation, why work with builders? And really a big reason is with builders you're getting 2, 3, 4 sides to every deal up front. So you're finding the land, you're getting the seller side of the deal, you're bringing the developer, you're getting that side of the deal. So that's two sides right there. And then when you go and you relist the property once the house is built, that's the third side. And potentially you find the buyer for it too, and that's 4 sides. And that's just up front. Now if if you do a good enough job of staying in touch with those clients, there's potential for you to own that house or that address for the lifetime of that house and potentially get a lot more deals out of that. Another question that we got after the last time we presented was, how is our current team structured? So they say, well, how do you support all these deals that you're doing? How do you support the systems of the new construction? So I wanted to give you guys a brief look at what it is that our team is made up of currently as we stand. So right now, you guys just met Jake Dreyfuss. He is the COO of the team. He runs operations for the team and kind of keeps everything in order and in check. We have 8 full-time agents that are on the team. That's our sales staff. And actually, we're now expanding into New Jersey, and that team is going to be increased by 2. We have 3 marketing people. One person is the marketing coordinator. She handles everything with all of our listings, putting it on the MLS, creating banners, creating flyers, signs, promoting the listing everywhere. Pretty much everything marketing related she does. And then we have a director of marketing and lead generation. That person is responsible for all of the messaging that goes out, all of our drip campaigns, all of our signs and phone lines, and why people are reaching out to us, and basically trying to figure out messaging to get more people to our site, driving traffic to our site, AdWords campaigns, so on and so forth. Just fully dedicated to generating leads for our team through various methods. And then we have a full-time blogger who writes for our blog, and that blog is phillyliving.com/blog. We report on all real estate developments and new stuff going on in the neighborhoods. And we have 2 transaction management people. So that's the makeup of our team, for those of you who wanted to know. So let's get into the thick of things. So why are you guys here today? And it's to learn about how to build a big business working with builders. So I want to show you this slide here, which talks about the economic indicators. As we all know, new construction starts are really the leading indicator for the economy. Now, you can see the trend throughout time going back to, pretty far back into the early 2000s. But what I really wanted to focus on is 2013, because that's the year we just came off of. We're on an increase now, and these are national numbers. So in 2013, there were approximately 900,000 new construction starts. So also in 2013, there were about 900,000 active real estate agents throughout the country. Now, I use the word active. There's a lot more licensed agents, but there's about 900,000 active agents. Of those 900,000 active agents, there were probably about half of those people sold at least one property. And of those people, I would say a very small fraction of those people actually sold new construction. So the reason I tell you all of this is because, like I just said, there was 900,000 new construction starts. That's a lot of business for us as real estate agents to go around. That's a lot of deals to add to our yearly inventory. And the question is, well, why don't more people do this? And the answer is, well, most people don't know how to sell what they can't see, and people are afraid of that. So throughout today and throughout all the series of webinars that we're going to do on this, we're going to talk to you guys about how to build your business off of new construction. So we'll cover as much as we can today, keeping in mind that your time is very valuable, and we'll cover additional topics that you guys are looking for in the future. Okay. So there's a couple sites that we look at, and what I want to do is tell you how you guys get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pick a neighborhood that you want to work in, and a neighborhood really that people want to live in. That's the most important thing, because if people want to live there, builders are going to want to build there. So there's a site, movoto.com. You can run different statistics on there to find out, what types of homes are selling, and figure that out. So the next thing that you should do is, once you pick your neighborhood, you're going to want to drive around or walk around. You're going to want to look for vacant lots, rundown properties, older homes in newer neighborhoods, or even really just small houses in neighborhoods where bigger, more expensive houses are the norm. That's the type of stuff you're looking for. You want to build your list pretty big. You want to try to get at least 100 properties if you can. Then we want to gather information on all those properties. So we're going to go to public records. You're going to go to white pages, Facebook, Google, and there's a service that we use called Accurate. Accurate is a LexisNexis product. I think the cost is somewhere around $250 a month, somewhere in that range. And you can really gather people's information off of there, cell phone numbers, email addresses. So you really have to do some homework and some detective work to actually get people's information.
And so Noah, what type of information are you looking for when you're going through public records? Obviously the name. What other details are you looking at there?
So in my market, in our market here in Philadelphia, the things that I look for when I find a piece of land or a shell, I want to know what the lot size is. Because once I have the lot size, I can eventually figure out what to build on there. You're going to want to know what the zoning classification is. So combined with the lot size and the zoning classification, you can figure out what it is that you can actually build there. Okay?
Okay, and just to pause for a minute there too and go back, one of the fringe benefits of using a site like Movoto, for example, a lot of times you'll find when you start working with builders, you're going to become their single source of truth and trust. So they're going to come to you and say, hey, what do you know about this neighborhood? What do you think? And a lot of times agents will spitball and give an answer about, how many bedrooms should be in a house. Should it be 3? Should it be 4? Should it be 5, 6? And this site will actually break down the percentage in that neighborhood now. So you can make, an educated guess or a suggestion based upon some hard facts. Like here we can see, the average number of bedrooms in this particular neighborhood is 2 to 3. So building a 6-bedroom house in this neighborhood is probably going to be a tough thing to sell. And this will actually give you some actual data to go back to your builder on.
Okay. And one other thing that I forgot to mention, so when you're targeting the neighborhoods that you're looking for, and I said you want to find neighborhoods where people actually want to live in. So when I say that, people are not just buying houses because of the house. So you want to target neighborhoods where maybe you're close to public transportation, proximity to schools, close to parks, airports, hospitals, businesses, different shopping and restaurants, areas where people typically want to live. And then again, when you're identifying houses, those, what they call the old granny houses, the houses that have, been occupied for 50 years, that's the type of stuff that you really want to look for. All right, so moving along here. The next thing you're going to want to do, once you've determined the lot size, once you've determined the zoning classification, and once you've really figured out what it is you can build there, you need to start running comps on that. So this is a key thing here.
Well, let's just pause there because you just did a couple of really important things. When you talk about zoning, you mentioned a couple big words. You want to take a step back and just kind of walk through what those mean to you?
Okay. So I'll use Philadelphia as an example, but again, you have to know your zoning classifications in your own particular market. In my market, there's different classifications. There's residential single-family homes. There's multifamily. There's commercial. There's mixed use. There's industrial. You have to know what it is you can actually build on the property.
And so what it's zoned today, does that necessarily equal what it will be in the future, or what's your experience with looking at a piece of the property where there might have to be a change to be effective?
So the intent of the zoning codes in the different neighborhoods are so you build that particular thing on that particular lot. But what they do, if you want to change their zoning up, you have to go for a zoning variance. So if something is zoned industrial, don't necessarily throw it out because it's not zoned residential. You can always go for a variance. You can always build something a little bit different than what is actually zoned for. And actually, some of the best developers will think outside of the box and not even worry about the zoning code and will just kind of build what it is that they think is the best use for that neighborhood.
Awesome.
Okay? So next thing you have to do is figure out how much the property is worth. Now, a lot of people will tell you that you need to run comps on the land to figure out what it's worth based upon what other previous lots of similar types of lots sold. Something that will separate you from everybody else. Comps don't matter at all when you're buying land, in my opinion. You're going to miss a lot of opportunities if you strictly focus on what previous things sold for. The way that you should value land, the way you should advise your builders and developers to value land is how much profit they can make on it. Don't let them be afraid to overpay for a property if they can make money on the property on the back end. That is really going to be the key here. So the question is, how do you determine the profit? And that's something that we're going to go through in detail as the main part of this presentation here. Because you need to be able to understand what the highest and best use is. You're going to run the comps for the neighborhoods. You need to be able to think like a developer. That's going to be the key here. You don't want to build $1 million mansion in a neighborhood that can only support a $300,000 home. So you really need to know your market, know what you're building, and be able to figure out that. Once you've established the price of what the home's going to be, so now, if I'm going too fast, I think I'll be saying I'm going a little bit too fast here. Okay, so let me slow down for a little bit. So I'll take us through steps for you. You found your land, you figured out the size, you're going to build on it based upon zoning classification or whatever you've decided on that land. Now, based upon that product, you're going to run comps on the final product that you want to build there. So the example I want to do today is on, we found a project. It's big enough to fit 3 homes on it. We've determined the size of the home that we can put on that lot, and we've determined that that home is going to be a $600,000 home based upon the comps that we ran for that 2,500 square foot product. Now we have to run the analysis on it. So I want to show you guys, when I said don't look at something for what it is, but really more for what the potential of it could be, this is what I'm talking about. So this is something that I found and sold, and what it was, if you look at the before picture, it was 4 buildings owned by the same owner. It was an apartment building, a big apartment building, and 3 other smaller apartment buildings and a small vacant lot. Well, to the general eye, it's pretty much an eyesore for the neighborhood. Well, what we did is we sat down, we went to the parcel maps, we looked to see how big the actual entire piece of land is if you combine all of them together, and we figured out that if you knocked everything down here, you could put 10 or more homes there. We fit 10 homes on the lot. Those homes, as you see in the after picture, it's not fully done yet, but those homes are all sold for around $2 million each.
Just to stop you for a second, though, so everyone on the call doesn't have the benefit of sitting next to you every day. I think one of the things they would be interested to hear is, and I've seen you do this, you literally have driven by a piece of property, you pull up the parcel map, which maybe you can explain to us how you do that, but then you literally just take out a piece of paper and start sketching, right? You're not calling an architect right away. You're literally just sitting down, and with a few simple facts you know about a house, you can actually design this whole property and kind of get a sense of if it'll work, right?
That's exactly right. I just, I go to the parcel map. It's different in every city, so you have to figure out what the website is for the parcel map for your particular city, or you can look up the water department map. Sometimes they have information on specific properties and parcels. You want to know the dimensions of the lot. Once you figure out the actual dimensions of the lot, you just take a piece of paper out, draw it out, and sit there with a ruler and figure out how many houses you can build on it or how many units you can build on it, and you have to play with it. Sometimes it takes a few tries to figure out what the best use is.
Yeah, and generally speaking, if you don't know typical widths and depths of properties, if you just look at your MLS listings, you can get a sense of what some properties are. And you'll quickly become an expert. And as you're showing properties, start making note of the depths and which houses seem to feel more comfortable to you, and you'll be able to start then drawing your own.
Okay, cool. And this is another one that we did as well, which is a vacant parking lot. and the before picture just shows the vacant parking lot, and we figured out that we could put 11 homes on it, and those homes sold for between $1 million and $2.5 million. All right, so now what I want to do is I really want to take you to the analysis part of it, which is I think the reason why you guys are all here, because I want to get, by the end of this conversation, I want all of you on the call to be thinking like a developer, because if you can think like a developer, you can talk their language, and they'll really respect you and start to come back to you for more opportunities, and that's really how you're going to start building your business. So I took this example here. We had a property where we could put 3 homes on it. Now, if you look at this analysis, I'll give you, before we change the slide, I'll give you a chance to really just look at all this stuff, but I'm going to explain this to you as well. So this particular property, you're able to fit 3 lots on it. Now, the asking price of the property was $600,000. If you see that in the top left where it says, I'm sorry, $400,000, it says acquisition. So the purchase price of the property was $400,000. So we divided the property into 3 equal-sized lots. So each lot essentially was 33.33% of the total price. So each lot was allocated an acquisition cost of $133,333. Then the next step of what you have to do once you figure out the acquisition cost is figure out all the costs that go into actually building the house, developing the house, getting it set up with everything, and then kind of back into your number here. So the first thing we're going to look at is the closing costs. So we have a separate sheet here for closing costs. So there's closing costs when you buy, and there's closing costs when you sell. So at an acquisition cost of $400,000, in my market, the transfer tax is 2% when you buy and 2% when you sell on each side of the deal. So really, it's a total of 4%. But for the sake of this, 2%, that's $8,000. Title insurance is about $3,500. Recording fees. You've got legal fees for the if you're using an attorney to help you with the deal. If you're getting a survey of the property, about $2,000. And again, these numbers may vary in your market, but this is for our market in Philadelphia. You have an appraisal. If you're using a bank, you'll have to get an appraisal. And then the real estate taxes that you're going to have to pay, just like in a normal transaction. So this particular transaction, the closing costs to buy the property were about $22,500. Okay, so taking you back to the new construction analysis. So then the next thing we have to look at are the soft costs. So for those of you who don't know what soft costs are essentially everything that goes into the property that are not construction costs. So that's everything that you see on the screen here: permits, attorney's fees, architects, soil tests, environmental reports, engineering costs, inspections. If you have to form a homeowners association or even a condo association, if we're looking at a condo building, that cost would go into there as a soft cost. Insurance for carrying the property, demolition of any buildings that are there. This particular one didn't have any demolition. Stormwater management. If you have stormwater management in your market, you're going to have to account for that. And then we always leave a little bit of money in there for miscellaneous. So that's just basically money that we didn't account for. So in this particular example, the soft costs were about $81,000.
And so for folks on this call, if they're not quite sure what some of these costs might be in their local markets, is an architect perhaps a good person to ask some of those things that you see, or perhaps a trusted attorney to kind of back in some of these numbers?
So actually the answer is probably both of that. So the architect would obviously know his fees, he would probably know the survey, the engineering stuff he would probably know, environmental type stuff. The architect could probably give you some of those answers. The attorney obviously could give you a ballpark idea of what it's going to cost that particular person. Your contractor or your developer or your builders, they can give you a better idea how much demolition might cost or how much soil tests and some of the other permitting fees might cost. So you're going to probably want to speak to a few different people to get a better understanding of those costs in your market. And then as you get more experience in this and as you work with more and more builders and developers, you'll really you'll really be able to understand these costs yourself and be able to protect yourself without having to talk to people. All right. So now you've got your acquisition costs, you've got your closing costs to buy the property, and you have your soft costs. Now, just backing up one screen here to show you again, we had $81,000. That was the total cost for the soft cost. Now, remember, we had 3 homes here, so divided that over by 3. If there were 1 lot, then obviously all that would get is the 1 lot, but we were going to spread it out over the course of 3 homes. Okay, then the next thing you're going to have to figure out, which is this is probably the most important number. This is what can make or break your numbers. This is your construction number. Now, it varies by every house type. It varies probably a little bit by market, and it certainly varies by your builder or your developer, because you have to remember that your builder clients are going to be able to put a home for cheaper than your developer clients. The developer clients, maybe they're just a developer, not a builder. They have to actually go out and hire a builder. So the builder, if they're not building for themselves, they're going to mark that number up higher for the developer, so they're going to charge more. So there might be a little difference between developer client and builder client.
So the bottom line there is kind of know your client. Right? A lot of people in our business interchange the word developer and builder often, and frankly, probably think it's the same thing. But your suggestion is kind of take a step and understand, and probably ask the question yourself.
Sure, certainly there's some developers that do the building themselves, and there's certain builders that don't develop for themselves. They strictly do the building aspect. So that's definitely a good question to ask them. In our market here, the benchmark number that we use is $100 a square foot construction cost. Now, and it might be the same in your market, but you really need to get a better handle on that number by talking to your clients, to your developers, to really figure out how much it costs them to build. That is a number that they know. That's not a number that necessarily has to get. They should actually know that number.
Right. Actually, kind of one of the tips and takeaways from today. Actually, it's a great reason to reach out to a builder. Just kind of prospecting with anyone else, giving them a phone, say, hey, just curious. I put together a lot of packages for investors. Curious what your number is when you're building, so I can back and find you some that works. You're going to take us, I think, through how to analyze it's actually a good deal in this next effort.
Yep. Okay, so now we've got the cost $250,000 based on $100 a square foot at 2,500 square feet. Okay, so we know that we've already run comps on this particular house, and we know that this house is going to sell for $600,000 because we run the comps on it, and that's the market house. So we take the $600,000, and based upon a $600,000 sales price, we need to factor in how much it's going to cost our client to sell the house. So in our market, on average, for us, it's about 8%. And that 8% is made up of an average commission of 6% and transfer tax of 2%. So, that's 8% of $600,000. So it's going to cost them $48,000 to sell this home. So the net sale on this home is going to be $552,000. And we take that $552,000, and now we're going to subtract out our total costs, which is what we've put above. That's the construction, soft cost, closing cost, buy it, and acquisition cost. So our total cost, $417,833 in this example per house. We're going to stack that number, $417,833, for our net sale, $552,000, and we're left with a net profit for our clients of $134,159, represents a return on investment of 34.33%. I see some questions that are coming in now that what is a good percentage that our clients might look for? And the answer is it varies per person. So some of your clients might say, well, I want to make a minimum of $75,000 per home or $100,000 per home. They may just have a dollar figure in mind. Other people, maybe some of the little more sophisticated developers, may say, I want a return on investment, return on your investment of 20%, 25%, 30%. Everybody has a different business model that they employ in their business. So this, for example, return on investment, 34.3%. I would say that most developers would jump on this deal because there's a lot of profit in it. It's a great return on investment. I don't know anyone in this kind of return on investment. This is the deal. So the question is $400,000 the right acquisition price for the property? That's what we were trying to figure out in the beginning. The answer is yes. This price for $700,000, sheet, we changed our numbers by a good amount. We essentially lose $100,000 on profit. One of those, the deal will not make sense after.
So a couple things real quick. Obviously, we'll be sharing this basic spreadsheet on the left, sharing with them on call, so you can use it to back into some numbers. So just to go back to that point, you actually looked at this lot and tried to run a lot and it appeared to be overpriced. You may have just taken yourself out of it. So we told take a couple extra minutes to run this, so it takes a little more time, but then we tie all together. We just got a question that came to know on commission amounts. Can you talk to us a little bit about how, if commissions come up in this conversation, we try to have you in that conversation?
Okay, sure. I mean, as we all know, there's no standard commissions throughout the country or in our market. It's just whatever your business model is, whatever you charge people, that's totally up to you. A lot of times with developers, they ask for a reduction in commission due to the volume. So something 15 or 20 homes with you, you can pretty much afford to give them a little break in commission. So, in Philadelphia, we're normally charging 6%. Some of our builders, we may charge 5%. We'll never, we haven't gone below that.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit, this is obviously a tool for investors to figure out they want to buy a piece of land, but tell us a little bit how you can use this as a sales tool to get yourself in the door if you're new in the business.
Well, I think the best way to kind of get yourself in the door is you become, or you're viewed as the expert on analysis. Now, a lot of your builders and developers may not know how to run the analysis on it. They may not know what to do. So you have to go to them. You have to show them what to do. You show them the opportunity. It's just like anything in the world. If you show people how to make money, you're going to get their attention. They're going to listen to what you have to say. So I think the best thing to do, really, if you're new in the business, or even if you're not new in the business, you really just want to kind of take this business to the next level, drive around, walk around your neighborhood. If you see construction signs, if you see zoning notices, if you see construction going on, pull over your car, walk into the house, ask to talk to the boss, ask to talk to the builder, and just start talking to them about the house and tell them about other opportunities that you might have, how they run their business and what it is that they look for, and ask them if it would be okay if you presented other opportunities for them for development after this. Build a rapport with them. Understand what it is they want, become an expert, and they will be loyal to you.
I think the one thing we found, and the reason we like this model, a lot of you folks on the phone, probably like us, try to, do all different types of prospecting. Some of which is trying to cold call in to have a magical FSBO call, a magical expired call. The interesting thing about working in new construction and trying to piece together with some of these smaller, local builders, is a lot of times you can just walk in and talk to them. And just having this piece of paper in your hand, and look, even if the numbers are off, even if your soft costs are off, if your estimates on the acquisition cost, at least you're starting the conversation and you have an opinion. And you're taking things off of, like using the site in the votes like we showed. You're not just giving your opinion, you're actually giving fact.
A lot of your fellow real estate agents are not doing this. They're sitting in offices, they're going online looking for the list of expires, they're looking for the list of for sale owners. They're looking for things that are being thrown in their lap. If you want to go out and put this over there, you need to find the stuff that's not being advertised, the stuff that nobody else knows about, not on the market yet, because fewer people are going to know about that. The only way to do that is to get out of your office, drive around, walk around, and find these types of properties.
No, we're getting a couple questions coming in, and please feel free to chat your questions on our Philly Living Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Philly Living Real Estate, or just through the feature right here in the webinar. I'm getting some questions about when you're presenting this to, I saw you do it today, when you're presenting this to one of your builder clients or a potential builder client, will you try out a couple different of these different price points to try to show them where the home run number would be, or do you just kind of go conservative right off the bat?
So I typically, best practice, in my opinion, is if you can get the land cheap enough, the problem is you don't make your money when you sell the property, you make it when you buy the property. And what I mean by that is you buy the property right, you buy it at the right price, of course, sell it at a little bit lower and potentially leave a little bit of money on the table. It's okay to advise your client to leave a little bit of money on the table as long as they can make profit, as long as they're making what they want, and they can keep going and keep building. If you can sell them fast, they'll keep building them, and you can make them more money throughout the year.
So that's a great question. Thanks, Vicki, for the question. Are you acting, Noah, as participating as an investor in the deals, or are you doing a valuable land contract? How are you structuring your presentation?
Well, strictly talking about my sales business, I'm not typically involved in a lot of most of the deals. Most of my developers are on their own. I advise them. I handle the sales for them, the marketing. I do some development on my own as well, where I sell my own properties. I find and sell my own properties as well. Typically on these deals, when I'm working with developers outside of my normal group that I buy stuff with, I'm not involved in the deals anyway, except for to sell them.
I think we had a question here coming from Troy. Troy, why don't you ask your question? Troy, you there? No, Troy? All right, Troy seemed to he had a question. I think we might have lost him, but let's get the question about if you're focusing exclusively on land deals. Any advice maybe on packaging the sale, just something.
Sure. If you want to focus exclusively on land deals, and we certainly do a lot of that as well, we have certain developers, and that's talking about the difference between a builder and a developer. Some developers just basically take things through entitlements. They get it approved for zoning, they figure out what it is you're going to build there, and they will sell it to an actual builder or even another person that's an end user. So if you want to do that and you want to focus on that, you basically have to package up these deals after through the development phase and the entitlement phase, and once you know what you're going to do there, the same way that you would sell it to one of your builders when you're running the analysis. You essentially just have to package up the land deals and put it into a nice package, a marketing package that you could sell to a builder, saying, hey, this property is already for zoning, here's what you can build here, here's the cost of it, just the analysis you've already gone through, and then you just have to shop it around to different builders and developers the same way you would with your own business. You just have to get on the phone, make calls. Again, you can still stop into construction sites and try to flip these land deals to other people. Same way you tell them on something that you found, you can just sell the lot to somebody else. And then the great part about that is, even if you are focused on land deals, it might benefit you to partner up with somebody who wants to, take care of the out sales for these, and you ran into one of their builders or builders, and maybe get a referral fee on the out sale of the house. It's not something you focus on.
So we had a couple of questions come in. Everyone should have received before this webinar an email with links that you can see on the screen. If you haven't received it, send us a chat, post to our Facebook page. But everyone that's gotten here, you've probably got the documents or this group of documents. These are what we use as the next piece of this equation, right? Because you can imagine this closing tool, Noah just walked through, was to get you the conversation to prove to this builder that you know how to put a deal together. The next step, though, is a lot of all these local builders is helping them with all the marketing materials to make sure that they can actually sell the properties for the prices that you described. Because as Noah said, a lot of the agents in our world shy away from this because they don't know how to sell what they can't see. And these documents which we share, and if you need help paying them or need them in different format, need us, respond to know we help you out. We tailor these and bring these as closing documents to that next conversation so they can see from from the get, the all tools we need to actually sell the property. That's the big stuff we say in the process and how we add value.
That is probably one of the biggest steps. And I think, due to time constraints, I know a lot of you guys said, you know, we want to keep it under an hour, so we want to be respectful of that. So the next webinar we're going to do, we're going to focus on, you know, once you guys figured out the project and have your developer on board, what do you do next? How do you market these properties to an end user? How do you sell these homes before there's anything ever in the ground? And how do you show your value to a builder that they actually want to list their property with you? So I don't want to just gloss over this topic. I want to spend a good amount of time on the next webinar actually going through these. We'll send an email out to you guys with the next webinar time, so you can hear what we do to actually market these properties once we've gotten the project.
Yeah, I think part of that too is educating other realtors. I guess if you take a second or reflect on your personal business, when you see those renderings on MLS, you shy away from what you should because you don't trust that the builder's organizer has the material. So as an agent here in Philly and New Jersey now, we make sure we get access together so we can educate the agents who can help us sell it. That's obviously the first step before that buyer comes in. So having it ready before that property hits the market is key. I'll walk through all these next time. In the meantime, please feel free to post any more questions to our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/PhillyLivingRealEstate. Of course, you can chat it here, and we'll follow up with you after the seminar, too. We'll leave this up for a couple of minutes.
And if you want to email us, feel free to email us as well. You can send an email me. It's noah@phillyliving.com. If you want to email Jake, it's jake@phillyliving.com. Feel free to browse around our website, phillyliving.com, just to get an idea of that. And we have a lot more great things to present to you guys. Feel free if there's any specific topics that you guys want us to cover in the future that maybe are not related to new construction, but just related to team stuff or marketing or whatever you can come up with. We're happy to share all of our everything that we do.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome today and also to the Keller Williams family, and we'll look forward to following up with everyone later on. Have a great afternoon.